Well, the lead story in this video is found out of Stratford, and this is something I've been waiting for a long time. And what the article is entitled, it says that the U.S. and Turkey go their separate ways. And in the subheading, it says that after flourishing for several decades, the strategic partnership between the United States and Turkey has reached what the U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson called a crisis point. The country's diverging interests in the Syrian civil war have put them increasingly at odds over the past several years. As Turkish President Erdogan seeks re-election, he will continue to stand up to Washington to curry favor with voters at the expense of his country's alliance with the United States. Well, this is a monstrous development, should I say, because of the fact that for years we have been wondering aloud how in the world that Turkey, being a NATO ally of the United States, and the Bible stating that at some point in time Turkey, Russia, and Iran would get together and somehow form an alliance and come down upon Israel on Israel's northern border. Well, after years of speculation, at least Russia and Iran are on Israel's northern border. But Turkey was kind of an outsider fighting a war in the northern part of Syria, trying to defeat the Kurds. And, as I stated in one of my videos, that at some point in time, because of the converging problems of the United States backing the Kurds and Turkey ready to destroy the Kurds, and that an impending war was going to take place, that was only a matter of time before the United States and Turkey became enemies. And frankly, that's exactly what has happened. This partnership has been growing and developing since the final chapters of World War II. And through the development and work of U.S. Presidents Harry S. Truman and Dwight D. Eisenhower, it was through this that they were able to bring Turkey into the NATO fold and develop them as a partner. And reading from the article, says from its origins in security cooperation, the partnership flourished over the next 7 decades, underpinned by predictability and a high level of trust between military personnel, diplomats, and heads of state. But certainly over the last couple of years, things have changed. And again, the interest of the United States as compared to the interests of Turkey became conflicting interests. And since President Trump has taken over, things have even gotten worse. And through this, it's caused Mr. Erdogan to cozy up to Mr. Putin. And the Bible says at some point in time that Iran, Russia, and Turkey would come together and form an alliance that would one day attempt to come down upon Israel. Well, that alliance is now officially beginning to take hard shapes. And reading from the article again, it says Erdogan has taken aim at the West, and especially at the United States, more and more since the failed military coup to unseat him in July of 2016. The Turkish government routinely accuses the United States of harboring the coup's alleged mastermind, who Mr. Erdogan has labeled Turkey's Osama bin Laden. Now, can this be fixed? Well, it says diplomacy doesn't seem to be a viable option anymore for Ankara and Washington. For the past several years, Turkey's president has taken every opportunity to centralize power under his office. The transatlantic partnership between the United States and Turkey took decades to build on a foundation of mutual trust and cooperation. Today, a series of conscious choices on the parts of both countries' leaders have left the relationship in a state of decay that may take a generation to reverse, if indeed it may be reversed at all. And I don't expect that to happen. It's one thing to try to create Bible prophecy, but when it's actually being played out before you, and I don't have to make up something to let you know that Russia and Iran are on Israel's northern border, because the facts are before us. That's exactly where they're at. I don't have to make up the fact that Russia has now chosen sides. In fact, here's an article by Depkafile that says that 2 more Russian stealth Su-57 fighter jets, this is the top-of-the-line jet, has been sent to Syria as a stark reminder that if anybody comes into Syrian airspace, that they will have to deal with these advanced jets. And you can expect more and more modern day equipment to be coming into Syria, and I really expect the buildup to be underway in the very near future. As I've stated in my previous articles and videos, that there are roughly, it's estimated somewhere between 80 and 100,000 fighters on, at least for Iran, that are in Syria right now. And as we've learned in the past, that these numbers are probably low compared to what the true numbers really are. So in the coming months, you could probably see that an escalation of fighters are going to be coming into Syria. And not only that, Depka had reported in an article a couple weeks ago that the next test for Israel will be when Iran moves a number of thousands of troops into the southern part of Syria, and it will then be a challenge to see how Israel will prevent that from happening. And it's also going to be interesting to see how many more of these Su-57 stealth fighter jets are going to be sent also to Syria to keep supposedly anyone who is flying over Syrian skies out, and that includes the United States. But the message is probably more toward Israel. So this is just another piece of Bible prophecy that is starting to come together, that we can actually see coming together before our eyes. And here are some lesser news headlines. Right here, China has indicated that the Communist Party has moved to eliminate term limits for the president. And what that means is that the present leader will be able to run indefinitely. And that simply means that he's never going to be able to be dethroned. Here's another article from Stratford. It says that South Korea has reported that North Korea has offered to open talks with the United States. Now, certainly, you really don't know what this all means because it could be just a fake olive branch. That's usually what North Korea presents, are fake olive branches to stall time or to try to keep sanctions from piling up and developing. But we'll wait and see what happens, because Mr. Trump is definitely ratcheting down. And now talking about the peace process in the Middle East, here's an article from the Times of Israel that states that it says Netanyahu warns disproportionate settlement growth would anger Trump. So don't think for a minute that Israel does not care what Mr. Trump has to say. I think we're going to see in the coming months how Israel is going to stay in line with the Trump proposal. Even though they may have to bite the bullet on a few issues, I think we are at least going to hear out what Mr. Trump has to say. His peace process will be revealed finally. It's probably going to be sometime. And, I have a feeling that it may be disclosed somewhere in May, probably either just before or during the inauguration of the new U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. And one more side note, Mr. Trump has had a recent phone call with the Mexican president, and has been rumored that the conversation became so tense regarding the wall that the Mexican president decided to cancel his trip to visit the president. And certainly I don't believe that it was all just about the wall. I really think that the president is trying to pressure the Mexican president as part of the NAFTA deal to pay for some of, if not all of, the partitioning of the wall. So it'll certainly be interesting to see how that turns out. But really what I wanted to bring you was the first article that I talked about, where Turkey and the United States basically have parted ways. This is a major development and will likely be followed by a strengthening of ties between Russia and Iran. And certainly if you like this video, indicate that by pushing the like button. And also, I would subscribe if I were you, if you want up-to-date information on Bible prophecy. And if you don't know the Lord, today is the day of salvation. As these articles seem to be mimicking Bible prophecy, we can simply say that your time is running out. You need to come to the Lord as soon as possible. 150,000 people will die today. The Bible says that the vast majority will end up in a burning hell. Don't let that happen to you. Come to the Lord, ask Him to save you, and I can tell you for sure He will. And you Christians, you need to get a copy of my Tribulation Period Survival Guide. Go down to the link below in the description section, click on it, and either get the free version, which is written in 9 different languages, or the paperback version. If you're going to hand it to a lost friend or loved one, I would recommend that you get the paperback version. You certainly don't want your lost friend or loved one being told how to react once the tribulation period does begin. Well, this is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.